Joined now by Craig Button. Craig, goaltending is always a big topic here in Edmonton, and so Stuart Skinner is right at the forefront of that discussion this year. It's funny, we were talking about what's the right conversation to have about Stuart Skinner. Is he underrated? Is he overrated? And then I think we sort of realized, well, where is Stuart Skinner rated? In the pantheon of great goalies in the league right now, good goalies in the league right now, where is Skinner rated? Where should he be rated? And that's the question I'll ask you, Craig. Where do you think Stuart Skinner should be slated in among the game's better goalies right now?
I think he should be slated in and rated a lot higher than I think that the general overwhelming majority would say. Even when I go back to last season, at the beginning of the season, Ryan, I think that there was a lot of questions about, Stuart Skinner, based on what he did in the playoffs. That was just one experience. Players learn from their experiences. Obviously, like the rest of the team, the first part of the season was abysmal. But then Stuart Skinner found a form. And even heading into the playoffs, can you win with Stuart Skinner? Can you win with Stuart Skinner? I don't know. Can you win Game 7 with Stuart Skinner in the Stanley Cup Final? That really should be the only question that needs to be asked now of Stuart Skinner. So I agree with your premise. I don't think he's in that upper tier of goaltenders, sitting with Shesterkin, sitting with Vasilevsky, sitting where those top guys sit. But I think that Stuart Skinner has shown great resiliency. I think he's shown an ability to continue to progress and learn in his game. And most importantly, showing to himself and to his teammates, I'm a guy you can count on, and I'm a guy that can help you win. And we're not talking about win a game. We're talking about win a Stanley Cup.
Yeah, it's funny. Skinner's a pretty introspective guy. He's not afraid to look in the mirror. And I think his perception of where he was last year in the playoffs was different than where everybody else's perception. So people were asking the question, can you count on him in the playoffs? How's he going to be, right? Can he be that number one guy at the toughest time? And I think at that point in time, Skinner had the confidence to do it. Skinner believed he had accomplished a fair amount and that he was there. So not that it was ever tense between us, but his perception of where his game was at was maybe a little bit different, and he needed to prove it. The interesting thing, though, Craig, you'll remember in the playoffs last year, it wasn't bump-free, right? He actually lost the net at a certain point early in the playoffs in the Vancouver series, but he earned it back. And when he got it back, he was excellent after that. So it would seem to me that to be in that upper echelon of goaltenders, you kind of need to drive some tough roads. And I think Skinner has driven a few of those roads now. He's overcome some of the things that good goaltenders need to overcome to become great goaltenders. And I think this year, Craig, is a great opportunity for Skinner. The first year where he is the clear-cut starter in Edmonton. He was still battling Campbell the last couple of years. This year, it's his year. It seems to me like he's got the opportunity to prove a tremendous amount in this conversation this year.
You know as well as anybody, Ryan, the self-confidence that Stuart Skinner has. And you can be confident to a great extent. But when I talk about Stuart Skinner, not only proving it to the outside world, but to the inside world, mostly himself. Hey, I can believe in myself, but I now know I can do it. And I think that becomes significant with respect to being able to be considered in the upper echelon of goaltenders. And certainly Stuart Skinner wasn't bump-free from the playoffs last season. But what goaltender has there ever been that's been bump-free? It's a rare occurrence. It's about finding a way to deliver 16 wins. It's like match play golf. You're not looking at your overall score. You're not looking at your overall goals against average or your save percentage. What you're looking at is who can deliver the victories when the challenges become the greatest. And I think that Stuart Skinner clearly answered that question. It now allows him to come into this season not only with the confidence that he can do it, but with the knowledge that he did do it. And I think that becomes critically important for the Edmonton Oilers and for Stuart Skinner as they move forward and trying to achieve their ultimate goal of winning the Stanley Cup.
Before he'll have a chance to do that, there's another opportunity for him, Craig, and that is with Team Canada at the Four Nations Cup. I don't know your view of the race in this moment. My sense is that there isn't necessarily a clear front runner. I think we're talking Aiden Hill. I think we're talking Stuart Skinner. I think we're talking Jordan Binnington. I'm not sure if you'd put anybody else in that top tier of conversation. I'll invite you to do so in a second. But it would seem to me that a goalie that went to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final, almost won it all, it doesn't seem to have a leg up in this conversation. Very good players that he's up against. You know, Binnington, of course, his general manager is the one that's, you know, in charge of things and running certain things. What do you think of Skinner's chances of starting for Team Canada coming up here at the Four Nations?
So when we look at the Canada's goaltending situation, Stuart Skinner at this point last season wasn't in the conversation. He's in the conversation now. Why is he in the conversation? Just to what we discussed, Ryan. He's shown a real strong capability of delivering wins. You get into tournament play, it's only about delivering tournament wins, because you don't have a 4 out of 7. You don't have an ability. You got to win games once you get into the medal round, and they become. And he showed that. He showed in elimination games last year in the playoffs, whether they be at home or be on the road, that he could deliver, and he did deliver. So now he's in the conversation, but there's no clear-cut goaltender that you could sit down and say, okay, he's our starter. In 1998, it was clearly Patrick Waugh. And you look forward, then it was Brodeur, and then it was Luongo, then it was Carey Price. Well, there's nobody there right now for Team Canada. And even when I go all the way back, and I'll go all the way back to 1972 in the Summit Series, Ken Dryden had come off MVP in the playoffs, had won a Stanley Cup with the Montreal Canadiens. Tony Esposito was there. They split the duties. And with no clear-cut goaltender right now, and remember, this isn't about who's going to be the best or who's going to be in the Hall of Fame. It'll come down to this factor, and this factor alone. Who gives Team Canada the best opportunity to win their first international competition at the senior level for a long period of time, best on best, and that is the Four Nations face-off.
Well, and bringing it back to Stuart Skinner, at the start of last year in training camp, he was battling Jack Campbell, and Campbell outplayed him in the preseason. Skinner lost the net for Game 1 of the regular season. Obviously, he battled back, got the job, had good regular season numbers, and we all saw what happened in the playoffs. But he's the guy right from day 1 of the regular season, Craig, and it seems like it's a three-way jump ball, if not more, for that starting position for Team Canada. It's going to be fascinating to see how those three, and Skinner in particular, a local product playing in his own market with that pressure as the number 1 guy, handles it and performs between now and decision time.